Hello and welcome to the Album Man, and today it is time for what I always tend to consider my most important video, or two videos this time of the year. Now, for you people who've been subscribed to me for a long time, since 2012, you may remember that I did my top 25 albums of 2012, but this year I decided to double the list. I thought this year it is all or nothing. So I've gone for top 50. This list took a long time to put together. I think it is as comprehensive as it's going to get. I doubt many people can think of, huge amounts of releases that, certainly that I haven't listened to in the process of writing this list. Of course, there's only 50 albums on here, and many more than 50 released in 2013. But these are certainly the ones I consider to be the best, and yeah, there's just a lot of great releases this year, so I thought I'd talk about more, hopefully introduce you to some new bands that you may not have known about. So at number 50, we have Wisdom of Crowds by Bruce Sword and Jonas Rensk. Now, Bruce Sword is the mastermind between the progressive rock band Pineapple Thief, and then Jonas Rensk is the vocalist of Catatonia, the sort of almost like gothic metal, prog metal type band. Also with some sort, I think they were also involved in like the early Death Doom scene with like Opeth and early Anathema, things like that, but I'm not quite sure. But yeah, so two bands I like a lot, and I was very excited about the prospect of a collaboration. Now, why is it so low on the list? This should be surely like in the top 20 at least. It sounds great on paper. Well, the thing is that while it's such an interesting album, that's why it's on here. It's on here because it's so interesting, it's so experimental, it's so different, but it's not higher because at times it gets a bit too electronic-y for my personal preference, and there's even a song which gets a little too close to dubstep even for me. It's just that bit too electronic-y, and that means I don't go back to it as much, but it's still a release that's worth checking out if you're a fan of these two, particularly Pineapple Thief, as it was Bruce Sword who wrote and played the instruments on this song. Jonas Rensk is just on vocals. Number 49, Deceive of the Gods by Amon Amarth. Now, this was an album most people probably wouldn't expect to be in my list. Amon Amarth? Why are they in your list? That's not the type of music you usually listen to. Well, it isn't. But I decided to give this a go on a whim, and it was surprisingly good. I'm not really sure what to categorise it as this type of extreme metal isn't something I usually listen to, but I've heard it categorised as Viking metal, a genre label I hate a lot because you don't base a genre on lyrics, but it certainly does have that sort of Viking theme to it. It sounds very Scandinavian, very charging into battle. And maybe it's melodic death metal, that could be what it is, which usually, yes, something I stay away from. But I don't know, this really surprised me. I quite like some of the sort of choruses. I thought it was very strong instrumentally, and yeah, just a good death metal-like type, possibly, yeah, release. Number 48, we have a bit more metal before we get into, well, a couple of bands that aren't. We have Dream Calls for Blood by Death Angel. Now, I've seen this higher on quite a few lists, and well, the thing is, I don't think it's like an unbelievable thrash album. I think there's better thrash albums out there, and better thrash albums released this year. But what I like about this is just such a solid thrash album. It's one that doesn't have like a standout track or particular bits that I really love, but it just doesn't have bits that I don't like. There's not a song where it's like, oh, it's just a strong album. It's just one of those full albums. You can just listen to it all the way through, and it's just a good time bit of thrash. Number 47, Beautiful Chaos by the Choirboys. Now, the Choirboys are a band I've liked for a long time. I love their debut album, which I can't remember the name of, but the one with 7 o'clock on. A bit of What We Fancy, that's what it is. I think it's a fantastic hard rock album, definitely up there with some of my favourites. Well, not quite, but it's strong. I saw them live, and this album, the problem was, well, a lot of the songwriting is very good. The production, it was a bit off, I felt. I felt the production sucks on the life out, and the thing is that, well, this album, I mean, the songs live from this were just fantastic when I saw them supporting Saxon. But in the studio, they just, I don't know, they're a live band, the Choirboys. You have to see them live to truly experience them. I don't think the studio ever quite does them as well, but still, Beautiful Chaos, it's just a good catchy, hard rock, 80s style album. Number 46, Snake Charmer's self-titled album. I feel maybe a tad bit harsh in my review. I think I came off a bit harsh in my review of Snake Charmer's self-titled, but, you know, make no mistake, I really do like this release. I mean, this is a supergroup consisting of, Loy Reisman, we have Harry James from Magnum, we have Adam Wakeman, Rick Wakeman's son, and I just completely forgotten the other members, but this, really, I don't have a huge amount to say, but it's just 70s hard rock. I mean, if you like 70s hard rock, this is basically, it's Whitesnake without David Coverdale. Think of it that way. If you like Whitesnake, you'll love this band. You really will. I love Whitesnake. That's why it's in this list. It's very Whitesnake-esque. It doesn't do anything new. It doesn't have any huge originality to it. Oh, it also has Bernie Marsden. Is it? Yes. Or is it Mick Moody? It's one of those. One of those Whitesnake guitarists it has. But yeah, very 70s Whitesnake, sort of late 70s type Whitesnake, I'd say, not, 84 onwards American Whitesnake. Number 45, this was a big surprise of the year. The only metalcore band I've ever claimed to at least slightly like delivered, probably, in my opinion, maybe their strongest effort. Trivium's Vengeance Falls. Now, these were a band, I sort of went through a fad of them. I bought a couple of albums, The Crusade and Ascendancy, and I enjoyed basically the song Like Light to Flies, which I still love. I love that song. It's a great song. And that was pretty much it, honestly. And I sort of went off them, didn't listen to them again. But this year, I decided, I'd heard this album had less of the Matt Heafy sort of screaming vocals. I've never liked his screams hugely. And so I gave it a go. And it was pretty surprising. This has more of a fresh vibe to it, even. I mean, I wouldn't call it fresh, but it has more of a fresh vibe to it. It has a lot of catchy choruses and more commercial sound than the previous album. It's probably due to the production of David Draiman. But while I wouldn't say it sounds like Disturbed, it's a lot catchier, a lot more accessible, a lot more clean. It's just a bit of fun. I don't think it's a bit love or hate. Some people think it's one of Trivium's weakest. Some people just think it's this amazing monster metal album. I'm sort of in between. I just think it's pretty good, really. Number 45. Megadeth Super Collider. Oh dear God. Let the shitstorm rain down. I like this album. I really did. Is this Megadeth's strongest album? No. Is this as good as Endgame? No. Is it as good as 13? No. But is it better than, like, Risk and The World Needs a Hero? In my opinion, yeah, it is. I just think it's... The thing is, it's not fresh. No. Maybe, like, Kingmaker's fresh and... I don't know, maybe Built for War or something, but in general it's not really fresh. It's more hard rock, and I find this a more successful foray into hard rock than I did Risk or The World Needs a Hero, as I said before. And yes, okay, this album is a little disappointing. Would I have preferred another Endgame type album? Probably, yeah, I would. That would probably then be my top 20 of the year. But this, I didn't quite get the hate. Yeah, it's not the most original thing that's ever been done, but I still think it adds some slight originality on it, and I just think it's general, catchy, good stuff, honestly. It's just a decent album. 43, a band I'd never heard of before, but discovered this year. Outlaw Gentlemen and Shady Ladies by Volbeat. So these are a Danish sort of alternative metal band, maybe, which features like King Diamond on a song, Room 54, is it? Which is such a great song. Oh my God. The thing about this, it's very, very catchy. It's almost sort of pop metal, I'd say. And that's honestly probably the best thing about it. I really decided to check them out because it has Rob Cassaggio, who played in Anthrax, but he left them, went over to Volbeat. So I decided to give them a go. I'm surprised by how catchy. I thought it was going to be some sort of thrash band, but they weren't. They're just sort of a poppy metal band, and this album has a nice sort of western spin to it, which you don't often get in sort of metal albums, and it's performed very tastefully. There's even an almost slightly country-esque song with someone from that Walk Off the Air Canadian band, which sounds a bit dodgy sort of on paper, but it actually works. Sarah Blackwood, that's it. It actually works so well, and yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I have to say about the album. Number 42, Now What by Deep Purple. Oh, this was gonna have to be here. I mean, Deep Purple, a classic band. Is this one of their best albums? No, it's not Machine Head. It's not Fireball. It's not made in Japan, or even Ben. Ben's my favourite up there. Or I really like Masters and like the Puppet one. Yeah, Joan Jett Puppet one. That's a great album. But this. Again, I've used the word solid a number of times, but it really does just apply to this album. It has some, the catchier, bigger hits to it. Well, not hits, I mean, there's no hits, it's Deep Purple. But what really, as much as, I miss Richie Blackmore from Deep Purple, I really am a huge Blackmore fan. Steve Morse's guitar playing is just phenomenal. I discovered him mainly through Flying Colours, actually. And this is the first Deep Purple album I've heard, I think, post Joan Jett, honestly. So yeah, I thought it was interesting. I thought Ian Gillan's voice is still really good, which surprised me. And then you have, you still have Pace on drums, you still have Glover on bass. So, I mean, there's a lot of, of course you don't have Lord, rest in peace, and Blackmore because he's busy doing shit. But no, it's definitely worth checking out. It's definitely worth a go. At number 41, we have Blackstone Riders with All Hell Breaks Loose. And if you don't know Blackstone Riders are, they're basically, well, they were going to be Thin Lizzy. They were the members who consist of Thin Lizzy's touring lineup, but really the only member of Thin Lizzy is Scott Gorham. And of course, instead of Phil Lynott on vocals, we have Ricky Rorick. And yeah, I'm pleased it didn't release it under the Thin Lizzy name, because I really don't think you can have Thin Lizzy without Phil Lynott. But Blackstone Riders, very, very Thin Lizzy-esque. I mean, this really sounds like Thin Lizzy. In fact, I think at some point he's trying a bit too hard to sound like Thin Lizzy, and I think Ricky Rorick, even though he's got a great voice, tries a bit too hard to be Phil Lynott, as he has sort of an Irish voice, and a lot of these songs have quite that Irish Thin Lizzy tone. Still, straight up, hard-rocking, Thin Lizzy style music, you can't go wrong. Number 40, Brief Nocturnes in Dreamless Sleep by Spocks Beard. Now, I've strayed away from non-Neil Morse Spocks Beard releases. I always thought that Neil Morse was at the heart of that band in albums like Snow, which is just, oh my god, one of the best double albums and concept albums out there. I think Snow is an absolute masterpiece. But, I mean, I know his brother's in it. I can't remember what he's called. It's like Adam or something. I don't know, something Morse, certainly. And, I don't know, it's like Spocks Beard without Neil Morse, would it really be any good? Would it really work? The answer is yes. Okay, is this as good as, like, Day for Night, Snow? No, it's not. Neil Morse just added that extra oomph. But Neil Morse does co-write 2 tracks on this song, even appearing on guitar on the last track on the album, which is quite nice. And, yeah, I mean, this is just classic Spocks Beard-esque prog. If you didn't like Spocks Beard before, then you're gonna hate this album. But if you like Spocks Beard, then you'll just find an enjoyable, prog-tastic, keyboard, guitar-y, and, long-winded with some catchy chords. That's the thing I've always liked about Spocks Beard. They've always had such tight melodies. Well, they aren't quite as tight as like the Devil's Got My Bone, or what is it, back, sang like that on Snow. Because Neil Morse is just fantastic at pop melody. It's still got some pop sensibilities with epic 70s-esque prog. What more could you ask for? And speaking of prog, number 39, Hakens The Mountain by Hakens. That's the way I've seen it do. Now, a lot of people rate this album super highly. I've seen this in quite a lot of top 10s, top 20s. So why is it a bit lower? Well, first, the strength of this album. I mean, this is such interesting, this is such out there progressive rock. A song like Cockroach King. I haven't heard anything quite like Cockroach King for all year. I mean, that's such a weird, almost King Crimson-esque song. And I would say definitely this band's influenced by King Crimson, because it has a lot of those sort of sporadic, sort of weird elements from King Crimson. But yet it also has like is it like Atlas, like the Stone one? God, see, remember, all these albums, trying to remember individual songs, it's like Atlas Stone, something like that. That is so catchy. But they managed to create just a really nice atmosphere. They have, I wouldn't really call them prog metal, but they certainly have some harder aspects to it. They're not one of those prog bands who like go for big crescendos, but they just sort of mix it up. There's a lot of keyboards in here. And yeah, if you're a fan of, this whole sort of 70s prog revival thing, then this is definitely a band that you should be looking into. Why they're not quite as high, I think, well, they do have quite a lot of originality in this, what can be a fairly stale subgenre at times, the 70s prog revival. I just don't think that this particularly, it doesn't go above and beyond. It's, a strong, I mean, of course, it's a strong prog album. I'm not going to put a weak album on this list, but it doesn't, elevate to the heights that other prog albums on this list do. Number 38, very interesting release, Ancients, Heart of Oak by Ancients, with 2 eyes, because who knows, that's just a bit odd. Now, this is a type of sort of, how to describe it, like an Opeth-y type, progressive metal album, really. That type of Opeth-y combining growls with cleans. The cleans on this are amazing. I don't know who the vocalist is, but he has a monster clean voice. And then the growls add that texture. So if you don't like harsher vocals, then you're not going to enjoy this release. But if you do, and if you like bands like Opeth, that type of thing, good old Opeth, then you should definitely check this band out if you don't already. I mean, you can listen to the album for free on their Bandcamp page, or they're streaming it on their website, or something like that. It's definitely worth a listen. Okay, number 37, Unvarnished by Joan Jett. Of course, Joan Jett was going to have to be on this list. I'm a big Joan Jett fan, I made that pretty damn clear. And I was very happy to see her return after, oh god, a bloody long time of not releasing an album. It's been ages and ages since we've had a Joan Jett release. So it was nice to finally have one in 2013. And, I mean, the thing is, I would love this to have been higher, but it was quite short. It was just one of those, it was a short, sweet album full of catchy, punky, punk energy infused, pure old school rock and roll songs, which she does the best. Her voice is still just has that same punch and power as it did back in the 80s and late 70s with, her earlier albums and Long Live Rock and Roll and Bad Reputation, and also with the Runaways, And so it still has that punch, it still has that punk edge, though it does a slightly more mature sound. You can tell almost she's sort of grown up, songwriting-wise and lyric-wise, which I'm not so sure fits her style of music as much, but there's still some really interesting stuff. Ballads, all-out ballads, which you wouldn't quite expect from Joan, and not really any covers on here, which is nice, because she's always had a track record of doing quite a lot of covers. But yeah, if you're a fan of that sort of 80s rock, definitely give this a go. Mouths of Madness by Orchid. So Orchid are one of sort of the Nuclear Blast labels, doom metal bands that they have at the moment, and part of this sort of, again, 70s rock, metal revival that's going on. And I would say Orchid are definitely one of the bands at the forefront of the doom sort of comeback, really. They just offer very Sabbathy riffs. I mean, of course, these bands, they're always going to be compared to Sabbath. It's inevitable because they take a lot of influence from that. But, while a lot of these bands do sound quite cookie-cutter, sound like they're basically just cloning every single Sabbath riff, and have the obligatory, sort of Planet Caravan-esque song, I think Orchid add a nice little spin to it. They don't do anything drastically different, but they're just really good at what they do. They just excel at that type of music, and it'll be interesting to see where they go in the future, if they're just going to keep this sound, or if they might try and expand it a bit. But Mouths of Madness is certainly promising. I'm not sure if I like it as much as Capricorn yet. Maybe I need to listen to Capricorn again, but it's certainly a good album. Number 35. Afterman Dissension by Coheed and Cambria. I even have a signed copy of this, which is pretty cool. And yeah, so this is the second part of their Afterman, two-part album, and I wouldn't say this is as good as Ascension. I loved Ascension. I thought songs like Dominant and Destitute, Vic the Butcher, I think Vic the Butcher's on, yeah, that's on Ascension, were just phenomenal Coheed songs, and I don't think this is quite as strong. Again, like Ascension, it's a little bit short. I mean, you're clearly meant to play them, I'd say, maybe back-to-back, because, it's almost meant to be, I'd say it pretty much is a double album, and that's how it should be treated, and it's more so a double album than the Good Apollo 4, sort of 1 and 2. As they are both quite short. This, I'd say, has a slight more emphasis on pop, and a lot shorter songs. I mean, we have songs like Number City, that's quite poppy, Two's his favourite one, Dark Side of Me, The Hard Sell. They're shorter, poppy songs. You don't have any of those really longer, over 7-minute tracks. I'd say the best song is Century the Defiant, that's a great song. And I mean, it's a strong album. Coed and Cambria, I mean, I need to listen to Year of the Black Rainbow, which I know some people aren't as big a fan of. But they were a strong band, releasing strong, progressive, poppy metal, and saw them live. They were great, and yeah, it's definitely an awesome album. Number 34, The Mystery of Time by Avantasia. Never heard of Avantasia before. I think it is Tobias Sammet's Avantasia. Never heard of them, but he seems to basically write concept albums and then get loads of guest musicians, or basically vocalists really, to come on him. And basically I saw the name Bob Catley, of course the lead singer of Magnum, and it was like, I'm going to have to check this out. Any album that has Bob Catley on is an album I'm going to have to check out. So I did, and what do I find is basically this immense, super melodic rock, power metal-y concept album. It really is. It's just big choruses. I mean, it's that big. I think Tobias Sammet, I think he was German or something like that, and you know, around there, and you know, that type of power metal-esque giant choruses, those big melodic German choruses, and then also with the guest vocalist, which adds a lot of different dynamics. There's quite a few on here. Trying to remember some. I don't know, none really are coming to my mind, unfortunately. But yeah, there's a really good roster of vocalists. It's really interesting. Tobias Sammet sings on it as well. And it's certainly one of the more interesting concept albums of the year. It's a very ambitious project, but I think it's executed pretty damn well. Number 33. Scorpion Shard's self-titled album, Scorpion Shard. This is another sort of Nuclear Blast's 70s rock bands. And yeah, Scorpion Shard are definitely... I only discovered them actually through someone just commented on one of my things. Oh, check out Scorpion Shard and look them up, like Texas blues rock band. And it was like, okay, they sound pretty cool. Gave them a go, and yeah, they are pretty damn cool. If you like Rival Sons, you're gonna love this band, really, or, you know, at least like them. I wouldn't say they're quite as good as Rival Sons. Rival Sons, really, I'd say the king of that type of music. But Scorpion Shard certainly deliver a solid debut. You know, it's got its flaws, definitely. I think the main thing that annoys me is that the last track, it looks like it's 12 minutes, but really it's like a 3-minute song and then just loads of, like, one, like, sort of white noise note, which I hate it when bands do that. It's just like, don't. I was looking forward to this 10-minute epic. I don't get it. And they need to, it's a bit like Rival Sons' debut album Pressure and Time, in the way that it has a lot of potential, but it's more focused on short, catchy, you know, sort of single type songs. Whereas, you know, then Rival Sons with Heads Down, they had some longer songs, some bigger guitar solos, and I'm hoping Scorpion Shard will expand their sound, otherwise I think they could get lost in this subgenre, but at the moment, solid debut, definitely worth a listen. Number 32, Queensryche's self-titled album. While Queensryche's Frequency Unknown is my #1 worst album of the year, Queensryche's self-titled is just a triumph, really. It's Queensryche's best album, I would honestly say, since Promised Land and what, the early 90s. It's just such a breath of fresh air for them. Todd Latour just adds this vigour, this extra spirit into Queensryche. All of them just, it's almost like they've been practically dead the last 10 years. They're playing as if they've suddenly been dusted off and reawakened. They're just playing for their lives. Todd's singing his lungs out, and he's got a bloody great voice. This band, it's exciting. While, you know, again, like Scorpion Shard, I almost treat this album as a debut, because it feels like such a different band to how Queensryche have been, and even a different band to Queensryche's earlier stuff. What times I think Todd Latour tries to copy Jeff Tate's was a bit too much, and instead he should focus on his own style. This new iteration of Queensryche, they have a lot of potential to possibly make another prog metal classic that could stand up alongside Empire and Operation Mindcrime. And that would certainly be something exciting. And yeah, they laying the groundwork here, and I can't wait for them to expand. Number 31. Darkness in a Different Light by Fate's Warning. Now, Fate's Warning are another progressive metal band, sort of contemporary of Queensryche, who, honestly, I'd never actually checked out Fate's Warning. This is my first exposure to Fate's Warning. They've been a band I've been meaning to, but just never quite got round to. So finally, I decided to check out Fate's Warning, and yeah, I mean, it's just solid, progressive, like, yeah, sort of progressive metal, I'd say. I'd say a bit more progressive, certainly like Queensryche's, with current sounds, the Todd Latour version, of course. Number 30. Out of the Darkness by Sacred Mother Tongue. These are a British metal band who have now unfortunately retired, which is kind of sad because this album was so good. Imagine a sort of a British Alter Bridge as the closest thing. Andy James on guitar, fantastic guitarist. I mean, searing lead solos. I'm not saying it's quite as good as Tremonti, but damn can he play a mean guitar. Killer riffs, killer solos, giant choruses. If you're a fan of Alter Bridge and that type of alternative metal, that type of hard rock that focuses on big choruses but also interesting, you know, also more melodic songs and blistering solos, then you should definitely check out of the Darkness. It's a real shame that this band is no more. I'm really quite sad about that because I really think they could, another album could launch them to that next level. But apparently it was due to online piracy and things like that, they weren't able to make enough money from this album to continue, so very sad. Number 29, Transition by Steve Lukather. This was a surprise. I mean, Steve Lukather, I like Toto. I think Toto for classic album. Steve Lukather, I was like, he can sing? Can he? Okay, give it a go. And it's like, wow, this is probably my favourite AOR. I'd say AOR, very super melodic rock, maybe soft rock even, of the release of the year. Steve Lukather's voice is surprisingly good. I mean, it really is. He has sung on Toto before, honestly, but Toto seemed to go through so many vocalists, it's hard to know who the bloody hell is who. But I did recognise the voice once I heard it on Transition. And yeah, so songs like Right the Wrong, oh my god, is that just the definition of catchy and melodic. Big choruses he manages to write, and it's an interesting song. I mean, he's just a really good guitar player. I mean, if you're into guitar playing, he plays a very melodic style, very tuneful, you know, not the most overly technical, but damn can he play some guitar and sing a nice chorus. What more do you want? Number 28, Furiosity by Monster Truck. Now again, this is one of those sort of 70s revival type bands, and this is one of the more hard-hitting ones. These are some fast, hard, heavy blues. I mean, yeah, this is not metal, this is hard rock, but it's very blues-infused. As I said, very hard-hitting, very powerful, very just at you, with a sort of grit and, oh god, sort of, a big, yeah, that's a sort of a crunchy tone to the guitars. Again, nice choruses. Yeah, worth a listen. An album that has received some mixed opinions, Infestessimum by Ghost BC. Of course, Ghost BC over here because of bloody copyright crap apparently, but there you go, Ghost BC is Infestessimum. Hope I'm saying that correctly. This is a very interesting album. Now, honestly, I have to admit I haven't heard Opus Eponymous. I know, shoot me dead, but I haven't. I'm going to rectify that in 2014, I promise. But at the moment, I haven't. So this, to me, I'm looking at this just as a standalone album. And to me, this is awesome. This is like a blowy staccato revival. So someone looked at the hugely underrated blowy staccato I'm a huge fan of and was like, we need a band a bit like that. Except with like the theatrics of like Alice Cooper. And yeah, I mean, a lot of sort of pop influence, a lot of 70s pop influence, and as I said, blowy staccato, Alice Cooper. It's just so weird, it's so odd, it's so entertaining. There's some sort of almost carnival-esque songs, and it's so weird. I mean, it really is. I found it a breath of fresh air, honestly, in metal. The pop influences I find very interesting. I was expecting it to be quite a bit heavier actually than it was. I wasn't quite sure what to expect with this band. But it's certainly an interesting one, certainly one to look through for the future. But I imagine the one that's live is where they excel, where Papa Emeritus has his, big hat and Archbishop Cardinal or whatever uniform on. So I imagine that's where they excel. But I have to listen to Opus Eponymous as I've heard that's the stronger of the two. Still, Infestessimum, oh yeah. Number 26, the last we're going to look at in this part, which is good because I'm nearly running out of time on my camcorder. This is a big surprise for me. It may be for you. Oh wow. Okay, I'm going to try and say this. Kivaikor by Sigil Rush. Or Rush, I don't bloody know. But whatever it is, wow. Wow, this album. I have a feeling that after more listens, this album could grow on me and could go high on my list, but I've only had time to really listen to it about 3 times, I'd say, which isn't enough. An album like this requires a minimum of 5 to truly get it. But certainly by what I did here, oh wow, Sigil Rush or whatever are going to be a band that I'm going to have to get some stuff of and look for in the future. Even though they sing in their Hopelantic made-up Icelandic-based language, which is so weird, it fits. They just create such interesting atmosphere. I'm a big fan of atmosphere and creating sort of delicate emotion, and sort of, you know, I love they have this big sort of swelling sound to them, and nice crescendos, and just the voice. I don't know what the vocalist is called, but his voice, oh my god, it's just this fantastic sort of high falsetto voice. And definitely I get some inspiration from Radiohead in Sigil Rush. And yeah, if you like that type of radio, that type of weird, or sort of, this album really is truly progressive, I'd say. Well, certainly this band, I don't know the other stuff enough to tell how progressive this album is. But yeah, swelling atmosphere, it's so tense. The only thing is at the end, there's a couple of instrumental tracks which I really find, you know what, I think they're band capable of very good instrumental tracks. These ones don't really do it for me, honestly. I find them a little bit plain compared to the other tracks on the album, but certainly the start of this album, oh wow, it's breathtaking. I implore anyone to check out Sigil Rush's Kaivolko, or whatever it is called. Okay, so this has been part 1 of my top 50 albums of 2013. I hope you've enjoyed, and I hope you will look to part 2 from 25 to 1, which should be out tomorrow or the day after that. So this has been TheAIbumMan. Thanks for watching, comment, subscribe, and as usual, long live rock and roll and plenty more great releases from 2013 to look at.